Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into a major shift in US foreign policy and diplomacy, which could have global implications. The Trump administration has been drafting a proposal that could radically transform how the US State Department operates, and not in the way you might expect.
The State Department is getting a big facelift. The Free Press obtained documents detailing the aggressive shakeup poised to close 132 agency offices, including those that promote human rights, democracy abroad, and tackling extremism and war crimes.
So rumors that an overhaul of the department was imminent have been weeks in the making. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is fully on board, telling the Free Press in a statement that the department is currently bloated, bureaucratic, and impedes diplomacy.
The plan is a massive overhaul of the department, with proposals to close over 100 offices and nearly 30 embassies and consulates worldwide. If this plan goes through, it's going to change the landscape of US diplomacy for years to come. So let's break this down. What's really at stake here? Why is it happening? And what could this mean for the US, for you, and for the world?
We are facing tremendous challenges across the globe to deliver on President Trump's America First foreign policy. We must make the State Department great again. In its current form, the department is bloated, bureaucratic, and unable to perform its essential diplomatic mission in this new era of great power competition. Over the past 15 years, the department's footprint has had unprecedented growth and costs have soared. But far from seeing a return to investment, taxpayers have seen less effective and less efficient diplomacy. The sprawling bureaucracy created a system more beholden to radical political ideology than advancing America's core national interests. That is why today, Secretary Rubio is announcing a comprehensive reorganization plan that will bring the department into the 21st century. This approach will empower the department from the ground up, from the bureaus to the embassies. Region-specific functions will be consolidated to increase functionality, redundant offices will be removed, and non-statutory programs that are misaligned with America's core national interests will cease to exist. Under President Trump's leadership, we have a commander-in-chief committed to putting America and Americans first. As his Secretary of State, Secretary Rubio, announces that he is in fact confident a reformed State Department will meet the moment and help make our country great once again.
The Trump administration has made no secret of its goal to downsize the federal government, and it's pushing forward with that agenda in a big way. This overhaul of the State Department is just one piece of a much larger plan to shrink the size and the scope of the federal government. In fact, this effort goes all the way back when Trump was still a young and upcoming real estate mogul.
Last year criticizing U.S. foreign policy. What would you do differently, Donald?
I'd make our allies, forgetting about the enemies you can't talk to so easily, I'd make our allies pay their fair share. We're a debtor nation. Something's going to happen over the next number of years with this country, because you can't keep going on losing $200 billion.
During his first term, he proposed a bill to cut federal government spending.
We're coming to you live tonight from our nation's capital ahead of the inauguration of our 45th president. Mr. Trump wasted no time in draining the swamp. He's looking to cut $10.5 trillion in government spending over the next decade. That, according to a report on the Hill, which says the president-elect and his team are proposing dramatic funding cuts as well as eliminating programs in a number of departments, including commerce and energy.
It didn't pass through Congress, but it gave a signal of his commitment to trimming the federal budget. In his 2024 presidential election campaign for potential comeback, Trump made a bold promise: cut the federal budget from $4 trillion to just $2 trillion. When President Trump got elected, he turned to none other than Elon Musk.
All right. As you can see, I'm not just MAGA. I'm Dog Gothic MAGA. Well, the energy in this room is incredible. What a great group of people.
All right, I've only got one question for you, and then I'm getting out of here because this is your stage. But we set up DOGE.
Yes.
How much do you think we can rip out of this wasted $6.5 trillion Harris-Biden budget?
Well, I think we can do at least $2 trillion.
Yeah!
Yes.
$2 trillion.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're being taxed. You're being taxed. All government spending is taxation. So whether it's direct taxation or all government spending, it either becomes inflation or it's direct taxation. Your money is being wasted, and the Department of Government Efficiency is going to fix that.
Yes, you heard that right. Trump turned to Musk, billionaire entrepreneur, owner of SpaceX, Tesla, and X, to help him downsize the federal budget. And if anyone knows how to trim fat from an organization, it's Musk.
So the headline here so far is that before Elon Musk bought it, Twitter wasn't so much a social media site as a honey trap operated by global intelligence agencies, including our own. One of the very first things Elon Musk did was fire all the spies who worked at Twitter. Then he fired a lot of other people too, including the entire PR department, the HR department, and a lot of other useless baggage who weren't helping the company do anything worth doing.
He's no stranger to large-scale reductions. When he bought Twitter in 2022, he made immediate changes that shocked the business world.
What percentage of your staff did you fire at Twitter? One of the great business stories of the year.
I think we're about 20% of the original size.
So 80% left.
Yes.
So
I mean, a lot of people voluntarily.
Sure, but it's 80% are gone from the day you took over.
That's correct. Yes.
So how do you run the company with only 20% of the staff?
It turns out you don't need all that many people to run Twitter.
But 80%? That's a lot.
Yes. If you're not trying to run some sort of glorified activist organization and you're not care that much about censorship, then you can really let go of a lot of people, it turns out.
Within hours of acquiring the platform, Musk fired top executives, laid off roughly 3,500 employees, about 50% of the company's staff, and restructured operations on a massive scale. Musk didn't stop there. He instructed the Office of Personnel Management at Twitter to trim an additional 80% of the workforce, while also cutting 50% of the company's overall business expenses. So it makes sense that Trump would look to Musk to advise on how to achieve similar results within US government. The idea was simple: replicate the kind of overhaul Musk did at Twitter, but on much large scale, aiming to save billions by trimming down redundant offices, eliminating underperforming programs, and consolidating US diplomatic services.
Kelly, I also wanted to ask you about what's going on at the State Department. Secretary of State Marco Rubio unveiling this plan for some massive cuts, including layoffs. Do we know what is he targeting with these cuts?
Well, it is a sweeping reorganization of the State Department, and officials there say that a bloated bureaucracy is not in line with the president's America First agenda. Certainly, the State Department has a vital function to play all around the world, representing the United States, being a place where American citizens abroad can also get help and services. They're looking to cut about 100 different offices around the world, consolidating in some countries, and cutting about 15% of of the staff. Now, the specific objectives of why they are doing that are still to sort of be sorted out. They've got a big plan for this. We know that they want to reduce the size of government, and they want to sort of sharpen the focus to align with President Trump's view of America first. But what kinds of changes that would mean in vulnerable places around the world, volatile places where the United States has interests, that will be seen over time. But this is considered a very significant shakeup of the State Department.
Let's take a closer look at some of the major changes outlined in this proposed overhaul, starting with the elimination of certain bureaus and positions. If this plan is fully implemented, here is what we could see.
The plan was in part driven by the dismantling of the aid agency USAID, the remaining parts of which have been absorbed by the State Department. The overhaul also including what's described as a, quote, reimagined office, which will oversee foreign and humanitarian affairs, which will run the remaining aid programs. The New York Times reports that the most dramatic change is the elimination of the Office of the Undersecretary for Civilian Security, Democracy and Human Rights, which is charged with advancing American values around the world. That office has come under fire from Trump administration officials, which call it a hotbed of liberal activism. It also comes, this plan, after the existence of a document being called a draft executive order came to light over the weekend. That memo went further than the newly announced plans and was slammed by Marco Rubio as being fake news, although it should be said that parts of that denounced memo have come to fruition under this new overhaul. Marco Rubio says the change will help the agency focus on, quote, America's core national interests and help put America first.
One of the most controversial parts of this proposal is the closure of nearly 30 embassies and consulates. The list includes locations all around the world, but it's clear that Africa will bear the brunt of this change.
As the United States builds strategic ties with some African nations, it's also considering degrading relations with several others. Since Donald Trump's return to the White House, Africa has once again been hit by a series of hardline policies, from travel bans and visa restrictions to aid cuts and trade tariffs. The continent is facing headwinds, and now Washington is planning to reduce its diplomatic footprint in Africa drastically. New reports reveal that the Trump administration is considering closing nearly 30 U.S. embassies and consulates worldwide. Many of them are located in Africa.
About 60% of the closures are in Africa, which raises a lot of eyebrows. Here are just some of the countries that could be affected.
Now, the move is part of a sweeping shakeup at the State Department, driven by the Elon Musk-backed Department of Government Efficiency, with a focus on shrinking federal operations. The U.S. is looking to shut down 10 embassies and 17 consulates across Europe, Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean. In Africa, embassy closures are being considered in Eritrea, Gambia, Lesotho, Republic of Congo, and South Sudan. In South Africa, the U.S. could shut its consulate, while diplomatic missions in Somalia may face downsizing despite their critical role in counter-terrorism. Embassy and consulate closures are also being considered in France, Germany, and the United Kingdom.
Let's zoom in on Africa for a moment, because this is where the most dramatic changes will likely occur.
But for Africa, the impact could be far more profound. Less diplomatic presence means greater isolation on the global stage. Embassies are crucial for diplomatic engagement, development coordination, and public outreach. Shutting them down risks cutting off direct communication with governments and local communities. It could erode people-to-people ties. Now, Trump's policies have already altered U.S.-Africa relations. Many nations are facing aid withdrawals, tougher immigration rules, and deportation orders. In South Africa, diplomatic relations have soured after Trump accused the country of mistreating white farmers and committing human rights violations, a claim widely rejected by experts and officials alike.
U.S. influence in Africa has been increasingly challenged, particularly by Chinese expanding economy and political footprint across the continent. For example, China has invested heavily in infrastructure projects throughout Africa, leading many to view China as the new superpower in the region. By closing nearly 30 diplomatic missions, especially in Africa, the US risks weakening its standing and influence in this crucial part of the world.
But as the US pulls back, other global powers are rushing in to fill the void. China, Russia, Turkey, and the Gulf states are deepening trade, infrastructure, and defense ties across the continent. So while the US steps back, Africa's geopolitical balance could shift in real time.
The withdrawal of embassies and consulates could make it harder for African nations to engage with the US on matters like trade, security, and diplomacy. And for the African people, it could mean less access to American services such as visas, passports, and consular support. But this isn't just about Africa. The global geopolitical landscape is shifting, and the US closing embassies and downsizing its presence could create a vacuum for other nations to fill. Countries like China, Russia, and even regional powers may step in to provide the diplomatic and economic leadership that the US once held. There's no doubt that the proposed changes will face opposition from both sides of the political aisle. Lawmakers from both parties have raised concerns that cutting diplomatic services could undermine US national security and diplomatic influence. And with any big proposal like this, there will likely be legal challenges as well. As we wait to see how this plan unfolds, there are a lot of questions yet to be answered. If you are someone who relies on US diplomatic services abroad, whether for visa, consular support, or just navigating life in a foreign country, this is something you would want to keep an eye on. What do you think of this proposal? Will it strengthen or weaken the US position on the global stage? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on this and other important topics. Thanks for watching.